Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, coming to you live here from the Outlaw Nation studios. One of the last few episodes we'll be doing here in Los Angeles, so I'm excited to be making the move next week and starting to do shows from San Diego. It'll be a lot of fun. The second week of October will be when we start doing shows from there. So the look will be different, I think, a little bit, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, though, to welcome, as always, my co-host here on this show, Alex Shashek. How are you, Alex?
The non-outlaw person here. Yes. Yes, I am doing great. I am dapper AF. So I'm excited to chat some really interesting movie news today. We got some weird stuff. I'm loving it.
We do, and I'm respecting the light blue eyeshadow you got going on. I like that. It's a good new look you got on the corners there. I respect it.
I'm just trying it out. I experiment a lot. I'm like, why not? It's makeup. It washes off. It's weird. Whatever. It's makeup.
I like it. We got so much going on today, as Alex just previewed here. We got so much to talk about with Black Widow being moved. We got some DC. We got some Peacemaker news with John Cena. Marvel Helstrom trailer dropped from Hulu. They're calling it one of their shows they're going to be dropping during Huluween. Oh, so clever, these PR and ad people. And also we're going to get into some other stories involving Ray Fisher returning to set for Justice League and some Rogue One updates as well. So a lot of stuff we're going to get into. But just a reminder before we start, remember these Streamlabs and SuperChats are essential. They are vital to the Outlaw Nation studios, to the Outlaw Nation channel, to keep it alive and to keep this show alive. The views have been really great for the show recently, and it's been so awesome to see you all becoming part of it and participating more and more. But the Streamlabs and SuperChats are also a very essential part of this, as well as hitting like on this video, hitting that thumbs up button. Really important for those of you who are watching us later on, and a lot of you do. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, as well as leaving a comment. Comments, likes, they all elevate the visibility of all the stuff we do here on the Outlaw Nation studio, as we are this little engine, this little outlet that could, as we chug up that hill, try to become a more well-known outlet, and it takes all the effort and help you guys can give us to get us there as well. So, all right, are you ready, Alex? Should we get into this thing?
Chugga chugga Outlaw Nation, let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Our first news story comes here on the heels of COVID-19 and everything's been happening, and some of the Tenet box office numbers that weren't 100% great for the studio. Disney has, for the Warner Brothers studio, Disney, as a fellow studio, has decided to make some changes for the release dates for their films. Black Widow is set to move now to May 7th, 2021 from November 6th. It was just around the corner from supposedly coming out, and a lot of people were speculating and postulating that it was going to move. Well, Alex, it is official now, May 7th, 2021. This is a full year from when it was supposed to be released, which was May 1st earlier this year. Eternals now moves from February 12th in 2021 to November 5th now in 2021. And then Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings moves from May 7th to July 9th, 2021, which is post-Independence Day slot that Disney had already reserved. They hadn't announced what movie was going to be there, so now that kind of slides into that spot. The Kingsman, which is the Kingsman prequel with Ray Fiennes and Gemma Arterton and Djimon Hounsou and a number of other people. Now that, and Pretty Stormare as Rasputin, which looks awesome. Now that moves up to February 26th of 2021. And then 20th Century announced some changes too. They are moving Death on the Nile from October 23rd, which is my birthday, to December 18th. In time for Christmas. And The Empty Man, which is this graphic novel feature adaptation, moves up from December 4th. West Side Story also got moved for Fox here, or sorry, for Amblin / 20th Centuries is what you can't say. Can't say Fox anymore. It moves from December 18th of this year to now December 10th of next year, 2021. Another one that's a full year away. And let's see, Soul is still sticking though to November 20th. Alex, Soul, the Pixar movie, that is still sticking where it's at. No word on Croods 2 yet. And all of this is happening because of the continued closure of New York and Los Angeles theaters and Chicago as well. And also the recent spikes in the UK and European markets and Latin America, which apparently is just riddled with COVID as well, shutting down their theaters. So Alex, there was a lot of movies being moved here, a lot of release dates. What's your overall feeling about this now as we kind of confront the fact that 2020 feels like pretty much a lost year for the studios since March?
I'm surprised Dune is not in this conversation.
Oh, great point. Great point.
Like, we're talking about all these huge movies, Black Widow, Soul. We're talking Eternals, that are movies that are being moved, justifiably so. And there's some movies that I am totally fine with seeing on video on demand. Amazing. I love it. There's some movies where I would prefer to see in theater. Dune, for example, as well as Black Widow, Wonder Woman 84. I'm okay with waiting for these movies as well. Now, something to remember is that a lot of these studios, that they have a timeline they have to keep, in spite of everything. And I do think that is the reason why, in order to appease, fans, that's why Disney released the WandaVision trailer very recently. That was huge. So many views. I received over 50 million views or something in the first 48 hours, something crazy. And, after seeing that, I'm not surprised that this was announced, the moving of, a MCU movie, as well as some other properties as well.
Yeah, the moving of Black Widow is very interesting because this, now you wonder, well, what happens now? Because Black Widow was supposed to kind of, lay a little groundwork in phase 4, but also close the door once and for all, finally, on the Black Widow character from the previous phases of the Marvel universe, of the MCU. So now you wonder, well, will some of those illusions, we've mentioned this before on the show, now be added on to WandaVision, added on to Falcon and Winter Soldier or Hawkeye, whenever these things are coming out? Certainly WandaVision being the most, what seems to be the most on deck series from Marvel and Disney Plus to be coming out. So will those illusions, those hints now be moved to WandaVision? I wonder overall. But and I also think, and this is an interesting, this struck me last night as I was looking at these things as well. Remember that Ansel Elgort was getting a lot of negative press for some issues involved with possible sexual assault, all these kinds of things that have kind of come for certain people from their past or from their recent past. And is this Disney's way of being, or 20th's way of pushing this to a year from now so people forget about it, so people can move past it? I don't know. You look at I don't mean to be cynical, but these PR departments, they do certain things to try to get you to forget about certain things, and they kind of push things away, or don't let people have access, or don't let journalists have access to certain actors who were involved in certain situations, so that they don't dig themselves deeper into quicksand about it. So do you think this also kind of alleviates that issue for Disney/20th?
I have to be completely honest. I forgot he has this. He's in this weird situation on Soul Angor, whatever his name is. But the thing is, I'm honestly a little. Also, I would be a little bit worried for Spielberg, as well. I'm not. Well, I'm not so much worried about him as a director, whether or not he's going to find work or something because it's Spielberg. Are you kidding? Come on now. I don't think he's ever going to struggle. Let's be honest. Right. But this movie in particular, it has had quite a bit of backlash before even casting him in particular. There was quite a bit of people being criticizing, they're not including the people of color. They're not including there's the people of color are they're not as dark as that they were in the original movie. They're not coming up as huge class differences like they do in the movie. So, and I do know, obviously, that is a very beloved classic musical. It's the Best Picture winning musical for a reason, and it's a beautiful movie. But one of the big things that movie in particular really focuses is on class, race relations, and now more than ever, that's going to be handled a very you got to be very smart about it, obviously. And, we always should be, but now more than ever as well. So, this movie in particular, I'm really not surprised if it's just moved back, that much, or if they're like, F it, we don't even want to risk it in the slightest. Let's just put it on video on demand.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I would be surprised if they spent all that money on the West Side Story and put it on video on demand, but you make a good point. I mean, I was one of those people that was like, boy, that first cast picture, they really went lighter on some of these Latino characters, because when you see them in their actual pictures, they are a lot darker. And some people push back on me on that. And I was like, look, there's things you notice as an analyst, as watching this thing. I'm not just a fan of movies. I'm not just a commentator. I have connections. I know people. I've had conversations with people in PR departments, in publicity departments for a number of studios, and had these kind of off the record conversations about how they promote certain things. And when you look at something, you see a pattern here. You don't need to be that, that deep of an analyst to look at what they're trying to do. It's a frustrating situation with West Side Story, because once again, that film won 11 Oscars. 11 Oscars. It's still shown all the time on TCM. It's still shown all the time in the revival houses. It's still a film they teach in schools. So to me, I think presenting a remake like this, and you better be able to match the 11 Oscars, or don't waste my time. Like Ben-Hur was a piece of crap. That Ben-Hur with Houston, that guy Houston, it was just from Boardwalk Empire, was terrible. Toby Kebbell, it was terrible, because it didn't come close to the William Wyler version of it that won so many Oscars as well with Charlton Heston. You've got to step up to the plate. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree to a certain extent, but I mean, if you're putting that much pressure on a movie, why even bother at all?
Exactly.
I mean, like,
that's my point.
Thing is, I mean, like, if why bother at all? I mean, it's like, because there's so much pressure on a movie. If you're gonna, in that case, I would prefer if they would make it completely different. Maybe make it completely different. Maybe set it in Detroit, maybe with black and white or whatever it may be. And thing is, we have to remember the original Robert Weiss musical, actually they purposely darkened the skin of the sharks, specifically with makeup, because they didn't come across as dark as they wanted them to be so they purposely darkened their skin with makeup, so it's definitely, again, it's a hard line to cross, but also it's just, thing is, I do want a lot more musicals. I would love more, not only just like big picture musicals, but I also would love to see more riskier, interesting, smaller musicals. And so, I want them to be okay with taking risks and things like that. And so I actually I do like them trying something different, but it feels like they haven't really made anything different, significant, and enough to really warrant making a movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, we'll hear more about that as it goes along. I do want to head back to the Marvel stuff here just for a second. Kumail Nanjiani came out with a tweet about the Eternals situation. He said, Eternals delayed to November 5th, 2021. Marvel made the right and responsible decision. There's a pandemic. Nothing is more important than health and lives. I can't tell people to go to a movie theater until I feel safe going to one. Take care of yourselves. I promise it'll be worth the wait. So very positive tweet from Kumail Nanjiani about the situation, supporting the decision to push Eternals to farther out in 2021. But this is such an interesting year now as you look at all of this, Alex. Marvel looks like they're going to be ruling the roost in 2021. Certainly DC with DC Fandom and their announcements in the Batman trailer and assorted other things that have come out is really kind of has owned 2020 in some weird way because of everything that's happened. They've been able to adapt better to it. They've been able to transition to the situation a little more deftly, shall we say, and they've kind of won the year. And I think heading out, and we'll see with Wonder Woman 84, we'll see when that what happens with that as it comes out, and we see a Bond still sticking where it's at on November 20th, and then we look at Soul, and Bond has been ramping up. We've got a new picture from Ana de Armas from the movie. Lashana Lynch has been doing some press for it now as a ramp up to this thing coming out supposedly on November 20th. But then we've got this other situation with Soul. It is sticking where it's sticking, Alex. And this is a very interesting decision by Disney, because there were rumors we reported on a few days ago about there were rumors that it might go to Disney Plus or that it might be pushed altogether. So if they're sticking at their date, I wonder if this is Disney's attempt to be like, well, nothing else has come out that's going to challenge what we think this film we think the impact of this film is going to be. So we think this might be an inside track for a Best Animated Feature Oscar if they're still going to do the Oscars. So we'll stick to the release of this take the losses and move on. If Pixar, what do you think about? Do you think they're making the right choice here with Soul?
I don't know. It's when it comes to family films, animated films in particular, it's a guaranteed moneymaker.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to Soul, considering it's a Pixar movie, I'm okay with paying $30 premium for this movie. I know it's gonna be a tearjerker. I know I'm gonna love it. It's a fact. You know, it's versus something like Scoob. I'm like, no, but you know, that's what I can skip Scoob. But when it comes to a movie like Soul, that's a movie that's very purposefully going to be impactful, purposefully going to include, that purposely included, people of color, a family of color. That's me, the focus of the movie. I'm like, what, I gotta see this. Not to mention, I'm like, I love jazz. So I'm like, just give me more jazz, so that's going to be so much fun. It's I feel like it's definitely, they're in a situation where they're like, we need to get some movies out there. We need to keep the excitement, for Disney Plus as a whole, because Disney Plus has received quite a bit of backlash about the prices, about the quality, not having enough product, on their stream service. So they're under a lot of pressure to really up the ante.
Yeah, true. Very true. And we'll see how that plays out. So, just a bit of update on all these moves. Death on the Nile going to December makes a lot of sense to me. If not much else is coming out, that film is a mystery film. It could be an interesting family film for Christmas time. You and your family going to see mystery thrillers. Those have been kind of making a comeback. So why not? Yeah, very sexy.
Very sexy family film. But,
exactly. Well, why not put that out in December and see how many families come and go and see that? And then, of course, Soul in November. Okay, let's see how many families come and see it. So we're definitely going to get a good idea. I think we're going to get a decent idea of what the interest is in people. If these things stick, if Bond sticks, Soul sticks, Dune sticks, and Death on the Nile sticks, if those all stick this year, I think we'll have a very good assessment of what the interest is of the public to go back to the theaters. You've got a Pixar film, you've got a mystery thriller, you've got a sci-fi epic, and then you've got a James Bond film. So all of that, if they all stay in their 2020 slots, will give studios in 2021 a better idea of what to release and when. And the rumors are that November is supposed to be better around the country for COVID and everything that's happened. But who can say? Who can predict? There's just there seems to be this weird feeling about that, but I don't know. We shall see. All right. 100%. Yeah, let's get into some Streamlabs here. We got a couple of them that came through. Remember, folks, please keep sending in your Streamlabs and your Super Chats on the show. If you love the show, you got to support the show when it's on. So please send the stuff in, send your questions in, send your comments in, send some interesting questions you want us to answer. Anything is game here on Mornings with the Outlaw with me and Alex Shashek. All right, Ben Rayner said, good morning, Rocha and Alex. Hope you guys have a good Thursday. There's a simple question for you guys. Which did you like more? Here's a simple question for you guys. Which did you like more? 40-Year-Old Virgin or Wedding Crashers? Also, hit that like button, people. Thanks, John and Alex, for another great show. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. All right, Alex, first, 40-Year-Old Virgin or Wedding Crashers? What is your choice?
Oh, that hands down, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh,
that is by far one of the most quotable comedies ever of the 2000s, but also does not age well. But it is so funny. I mean, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I'd have to go 40-Year-Old Virgin myself because I think it's a more complete film, a linear film, and then a film that has some great comedic moments throughout, yet never loses its heart. Because there's that scene in the sex therapy or sex education class where they're talking about, their first timers, who's a virgin, who's not a virgin. And, Steve Carell putting that out there with his character to help Kat Dennings feel a little more comfortable about the situation, her being a virgin there. And of course, but still played for laughs with the other people, that you don't need a Magnum condom. All those little comments that they make throughout are very funny. And then you've got all the interactions with the guys who work at the electronics store that he's managing, including, Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, Romany Malco, even Kevin Hart coming in as a funny customer. And then you've also got the older Indian guy, very funny stuff going on with him, Jane Lynch. And then, of course,
Kevin
the beautiful, what's that?
Okay, Kevin Hart. He makes like a funny random cameo.
Yep. He's very funny. And their relationship, him and Catherine Keener, as they're building it along, is actually a very sweet relationship. So I'm a fan of it. For me, Wedding Crashers, I love Wedding Crashers. But my issue is that whole Will Ferrell vignette there. It just goes on too long.
I actually really like that movie, Wedding Crashers. I do, but I don't think it ages well at all. I mean, it's really, it makes light of sexual assault for men. It makes light of, it also kind of makes like women out to seem like we're trapping men all the time.
You mean the Isla Fisher character?
Yes, but I understand it's funny. It's her character,
right?
But I really, really don't like how they kind of really make light of the sexual assault for what's his name with not Matthew Vaughn. That's the director. Vince Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn's the director, not the actor. So that's really, really bad.
Right.
And they just play it off for jokes.
Yeah, that's true. It's a fair point. All right, thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. And yeah, like Ben said, please hit that like button. We got 130 y'all watching us live, but only 56 likes. So hit that, move that cursor over there. Take 2 seconds, move that cursor over, hit that thumbs up button, get us over 100 likes, and get us to 150 likes by the end of the show at least. So please do that right now as you're watching our show. Meatloaf. Yeah, exactly. That's when Wedding Crashers.
It's funny. I love that scene. My dad references that scene every time we have Meatloaf.
Does he really?
He's like, Alex, Meatloaf, get over here. And I'm like, Dad, no. It's so great.
Two last things.
You said it goes on too long, but for me, it's way too short. You can make a movie off that.
That's fair. At the funeral, he's like, anyway, two last things to tell you about the movie release, and then we'll move on. Coming to America 2, still on track to come out on December 18th from Paramount, and also Wonder Woman 1984, still on track for December 25th for actual Christmas Day. So we shall see if those stick as we move along here, Alex, for sure. All right, let's go into some Rogue One conversation here. This is an exclusive coming to us from Deadline. Disney Plus is preparing to start production on the Rogue One spin-off series. A lot of people had reported that that Tony Gilroy would be directing the first few episodes and be in charge of that. Well, according to Deadline, Toby Haynes is now stepping in to direct the first 3 episodes. The sources tell Deadline that Tony Gilroy stepped off or dropped off as director for COVID-19 related travel reasons. Gilroy lives in New York and had to make a decision quickly on whether he would head over to the UK for the shoot. In the end, he thought it would be best to stay in New York and have Haynes take over the directing duties on this situation. Of course, the series centers on Cassian Andor, who is played by Diego Luna in Rogue One. He's reprising his role. Of course, and then Adria Arjona was announced, Arjona, Denise Goff, Genevieve O'Reilly coming back to play Mon Mothma, Stellan Skarsgård, Kyle Soller are also in the cast. Now, Disney has not commented on this at all, but that is what Deadline is reporting. It's supposed to focus on Andor and take place prior, obviously, to the events of Rogue One, if you know what happens to Andor in Rogue One. And the early days of the rebellion is supposed to be seen as a spy thriller. Alan Tudyk is also coming back as K2SO. So, we hear all this stuff going on. Haynes also has been started directing the Emmy-winning, he's started with directing the Emmy-winning Black Mirror episode USS Callister, which starred Jesse Plemons. And then he directed the HBO movie Brexit with Benedict Cumberbatch. And he's also has the highly anticipated Amazon series Utopia, which premiered this past Friday out there for people to consume as well. So, Alex, are you familiar with Toby Haynes? Do you like this move, the Tony Gilroy situation? What's your feeling here overall? Do you really think it was travel related, or did they kind of maybe have some issues with Tony Gilroy, who has been, how can I say this? he's a bit open with his opinions, shall we say. What do you think happened here?
I really don't know. Thing is, if I actually really like Tony Gilroy as a producer, as a writer. He's involved with some of my, I don't want to say favorite movies, but a lot of movies that I really, really enjoy the writing from. Michael Clayton. I really like The Bourne Legacy, the 2012 one. Personally, I like The Bourne North. I like the original run from 2002. I like Armageddon, Devil's Advocate. He was involved with a lot of these movies that I actually really, from movies that I really in particular, I like the script for. I mean, are one of our favorite Michael Bay movies of all time. Armageddon, obviously. Let's be honest. And this is personally a TV show that I don't need, but this is obviously the thing is I am not the biggest Star Wars fan, but a lot of these people behind the scenes actually they get me more excited. I love Diego Luna. I really liked Tony Gilroy, and I do think that them associating with a lot of these really great, behind the scenes people really gets me excited. But I do think that, obviously, like you said, Tony Gilroy is definitely a person that's vocal with his feelings. He's not exactly PR prepped. So if whatever the real motivations behind it, it's definitely a very, if the studio is saying, we're letting them go because of COVID reasons, we can't get them out there, and so I'm not going to question them because I'm like, if anything, hey, you know what? That's smart. Good for them for making that. So it's definitely a wise choice.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that according to these articles here, Haynes will direct the first 3 episodes, but Gilroy is still very much involved, quote unquote, as the showrunner and executive producer. So maybe just from a distance, he's going to be, dictating things and talking to Haynes and making sure they're all on track and then going in the same direction for what they want to have happen here. There's a lot of rumors around this series that were, I would say, troubling or problematic initially. A couple of people that I know in the Star Wars world said that they had heard from a couple of people who worked with Lucasfilm that the show was having some issues, that some of the writing wasn't that strong, some of the approach to the series wasn't as strong, and quote unquote, I heard from one friend who said it was a shit show. So that maybe they're just trying to straighten this all out, kind of get it on point, kind of get it ready, because they see what the Mandalorian is doing, and I think they're realizing very strongly that these TV series are keeping the fandom of Star Wars excited and interested for what's coming up next. Yeah, like you said, you're not the biggest fan of it, but The Mandalorian is a show you can watch without not having seen any of the Star Wars movies. And I think maybe they want to kind of focus on that with Cassian Andor, with the Kenobi series. Remember Kenobi series also having its issues. Now rumors being cut to 4 episodes instead of 8, and it being a one-off, and they're redoing the script. So there's a lot of pressure, I think, within the halls of Disney and Lucasfilm to get these TV series right. So if they're making these adjustments so they get the right people in place, I think it's a positive, So, and you're right, Tony Gilroy has written a lot of films, so he's got that experience doing that, and only directed a few things. Toby Haynes, though, has a great track record as a director of Doctor Who. What was the one I was just looking at? Sherlock, yes, he's directed Sherlock as well. There was another one I was looking at with him that
Black Mirror?
We mentioned that already. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. If you haven't seen this really unique miniseries, British miniseries, it's set. It's a period piece dealing with magic. It's on Netflix right now.
That show.
Yeah, it's a really good show.
It's a weird one. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Do they have a second season of that show?
They canceled it. They just stopped. It has a one-off, and it came out in 2015. It's really good. It's a very weird show if you haven't seen it. So if you're a British fan or British person, you've seen Toby Haynes' work in a lot of those series. If you're into British series as well, Wallander, Sherlock, as you mentioned, 5 Days Being Human, MI High. These are all series that he had a part in directing. So I think they're in good hands with him, and I like that they're making this decision if they think it's the right decision to get Rogue One correct. So yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. All right. Those are very strong words, John. Shit show. Yeah, I'm just telling you what someone told me, that it was that from the initial reactions, they felt it was kind of not as strong at all. It was a little bit of a shit show, and they had to figure it out. So, there's nothing wrong with taking a step back, take a look at this kind of stuff, and then making some changes overall. All right, we've got one Streamlab that came through here. Alex Andrew G donated. He said, someone in the chat made an interesting point. How much can all these movies make next year anyways? There will be so many new releases in 2021. Who will be able to see them all, or will go if COVID is still around? Will anything actually get over $1 billion? Yeah, Alex, what do you think? Do you think there's too many movies stacking on top of each other in 2021? And do we think anything is going to make $1 billion?
I am honestly, now that you bring it up, Andrew, that's a really great question. I am kind of curious of what some of the busier weeks next year are going to look like. There are usually no more than 1 or 2 like real big blockbuster film per weekend. And, obviously if you're going to include 2 or 3 blockbusters per weekend, that makes everyone's money go down.
Yeah,
let's realistically speaking, it does, because you have to make a choice. And yes, I do know a Kez right behind me. He's just hanging out. He just wanted to hang out with his mama, Look at
that. So cute.
Yeah, he wants attention in some fashion since I'm not petting him actively. He's like, I want his love.
He's got a great face.
So but that's a really great point. Overall, I didn't think it. So I am going to actually check out the schedule for next year now.
Yeah. There are a number of them. And I would turn to what happened this year. Not this year, last year, when the summer was just stocked with films, one after another. And so still, Avengers Endgame made $2 billion. It broke the record of most money made by a movie without adjusting for inflation. So it is possible that I think Batman certainly has the possibility to go over $1 billion. Wonder Woman 1984 this year, if it comes out at Christmas, certainly the possibilities are in play depending on how many theaters are open, that it could make $1 billion. But I think more than anything else, it's about the theaters being open. Once the theaters are open and people feel comfortable going to the theater, I think for certain movies, they will show up in droves. I do think, though, after this situation, people are less and less inclined to go see the more medium-sized movies or 3/4 size movies. I think the natural thing that was going to happen anyway was sped up by COVID, was that people are just going to go see these blockbuster films in the theaters, and they're rarely going to go see the smaller, more independent films, medium-sized films, 3/4 size films at the numbers that they were going to before, because they can just wait and watch them on their TV or on the streaming services. And these films come out streaming so much more quickly than they used to before. I just saw something on streaming the other day that I interviewed. I interviewed Craig Fairbrass on Deep Cut, like, I don't think in April or May of this year. And already that film we talked about, Villain, it was on one of the pay channels. And I was like, well, dang, this is already out there for people to watch. It's on Netflix on streaming. So it's already out there for people to watch. That's a recommendation. If you haven't seen Villain, this great British gangster film, I can't recommend it enough. Craig Fairbrass does a great job on that. But it just consumed me like, wow. Already these films are coming out quicker and quicker. So the people are just going to wait, unless it's the big film. I think they're just going to wait,
Yeah, it's it's definitely a troubling time for the theater industry in general, which makes me so sad. But it just comes down to, it's just like any, business model. Yeah. Eventually, if you don't evolve, you're gonna crash and fail. Yeah. It's just the way it is. So. And that's inevitable for across businesses for all fields. Now, I would love to go to a theater again in the future. I do love that theater going experience, especially for something like a big epic, like, we can't have that, Avengers Endgame experience not in a theater, where I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm emotionally prepping for Captain America to die, and then he doesn't die, and then it's Tony that's dying, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what's happening? And then he's like, oh, and then Tom Holland being Tom Holland. Oh my gosh, and it's. I kind of wonder, I would never have the experience that I did have if I wasn't at a theater. So obviously there are some, theater experiences that are preferred, but also it's maybe this is a fluke and the theater industry will completely bounce back amazingly. Maybe people will realize that they actively love going to theaters. That could be something that happens. I don't think that's likely, but you never know. So
it's a very good point. You never know. That's why no prognosticator is 100% right about this right now. There's so many moving parts, so many X factors, and it's such a fluid situation that you're not really sure what you're getting out of. You're not really sure what's going to happen in these theaters, what's going to happen with these studios, and what decisions they're going to make. So you have to kind of flow with what's happening. Devontae Smith says, do people understand in LA, not understand that people aren't going to movies because there's a pandemic, not because they can't go to a theater? Well, we don't know yet, to be honest with you, Devontae. I understand what you're saying, absolutely. But it's tough to say right now. And it's not people in LA. Everyone is talking about this across the country. Like, well, what's coming out? What's not coming out? 70% of theaters were open across the country, right? And 30% weren't. And that's in LA and New York and assorted other bigger cities that have had strong spikes up for the pandemic and COVID. We don't know if people are not going to movies because of the pandemic, because films haven't come out that would necessarily drag people or make people go to theaters. I think we'd have a better understanding, Devontae, if Black Widow had come out, if Wonder Woman 1984 had come out, and those films had bombed at the box office because people on the 70%, because people didn't go. Then you go, yes, now we have actual evidence that proves that people won't go to the theater no matter what we put out there. They won't. But these studios don't want to take a chance on that because I think they feel themselves that they're worried that they could lose out on this money if they drop these movies now. So for now, it's all just speculation whether people want to go to these theaters or not. Yeah, I know Tenet is a possibility, could have been a draw, and some people like RB3 have said, well, Tenet, Christopher Nolan's made a lot of money with the movies. Yes, but exponentially, the amount he's made on the movies that have come out have dropped since 2010. Like he had 826 million worldwide for Inception, but then only 600 million. I say only as a relative comparative term. 600 million for Interstellar, and then 500 something million for Dunkirk. So the returns on Nolan's films have been decreasing since 2010. So he's not necessarily the filmmaker, and that Tenet film is not necessarily the one that are going to drag people to the theater. So until more populist fare comes out, we're not going to really know if people are really not wanting to go to the theater just yet. But you bring up an interesting point to consider, Devontae. So thank you for that. What do you think, Alex? Does that make sense to you just right now, or do you think we can make a decision now that people aren't going?
I think it's very difficult to make the decision, especially when people are actively requesting to go to theaters.
Yeah, true. People are doing in some states.
It's very hot and cold, depending on where you are in the U.S. in the world.
Yeah,
so something to keep that in mind. And and also, like these studios, let's face it, they don't want to take a lot of these studios, they're making huge cuts to how many people they have on staff and everything. Like Warner Brothers had a huge layoff, not just like last month or a month or two ago. And, and Warner Brothers, and they are actively trying to make, bigger movies that become more of a guaranteed draw, so I really don't know. I have a hard time personally kind of determining that myself, honestly.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Draws Walker said Tenet and Mulan are sheer proof that there are much bigger issues at hand. I don't know if you can say that necessarily, Draws, and I take your point absolutely, which is why I'm putting it up here to discuss real quick. Tenet, once again, Tenet's not one of those films that was going to get people out of their butts during a COVID or pandemic situation to go see the movie. As I said, Nolan's films have been dropping in terms of box office for the last 10 years. Mulan got mixed reviews, bad reviews, and there was a lot of negative, bad PR. There's a lot of negativity around Mulan. So it wasn't your standard Disney released film. So there was a lot of crap around it. So I don't think we can make 100% judgment based on those two films. So I hear your point. In a normal world, yes, but I don't think either one of these films came out with much fanfare necessarily or overwhelmingly great buzz from the critics and reviewers. And yes, this may shock some of you. People still listen to the critics and reviewers about films that dictate whether they go to a movie or not. So that kind of, I think all of that that surrounded both these films detracted from its box office. Yeah.
I totally agree. Absolutely. There are also let's face it, there's if The Incredibles 3 came out if The Incredibles 3 were to happen, it came out like as the worst movie ever according to critics, I would still pay money to see it. I would. Fair. I really would. Everyone has like that genre or that movie or whatever maybe. It's like I don't care how much backlash it's getting. I gotta see it.
Yeah, fair. Fredtastic 314 says, I like the idea of these Star Wars series if they're leading to a future. Just reliving the past won't keep interest and could cause the studio to self-correct ... again. Yeah, Alex, thoughts on that?
We both know that I'm so done with the Skywalker family.
True.
So I just want it's so vast. The galaxy is so huge in that world. So many planets, so many species, so many you can go in any direction you want. Why limit it to just this one random family that somehow ended up controlling the universe through its DNA?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, and I hear what you're saying, Fredtastic. The idea that these things need to lead to a future. Sir, certainly, I think what they're trying to do now is just kind of like get people back into the idea of Star Wars again, back through these TV series into loving. I think they know in the internal halls of Lucasfilm that they really fumbled this sequel trilogy in a worse way than Lucas fumbled the prequel trilogy for some of us. I know a lot of people do love the prequel trilogy, but I think they fumbled the ball overall in the sequel trilogy, and they understand that leaning into these TV series and making them as great as possible will get people back in love with it. And from there, the springboard will be what they do next. Remember, Kathleen Kennedy said they're taking a step back, quote unquote, to look at what they want to do with the films going forward. They wouldn't be taking a step back if they felt positive about the sequel trilogy. They just wouldn't. So that tells you what the issue is there. So, all right. Let's see. We got any more Streamlabs and Super Chats? No, we don't. We're a bit light today. Come on, people. Give us some love. Give us some topics to talk about if you want to throw something out there. Everything's open for Alex and I to discuss.
I'm totally cool over here, guys. I'm just
including a new camera maybe for Alex. So, yes, do some questions. Send in some Super Chats and some Streamlabs. I believe the Streamlab address is in the description. So yeah, it's right there. And it's also right there on the graphic there. It says streamlabs.com/John Rocha says /TIP is the other one. So maybe I'll have Jake Yakubeta add that and give me a new overlay for that one. So, all right, let's move on to our next thing, Alex. And I think we got to talk about this awesome new trailer that dropped today. Marvel's Helstrom. This thing dropped, coming to us from Hulu. It is part of their Huluween celebration this year. That's the pictures right there. That's the picture right there of that. Looks pretty awesome for promo art. I love the way it looks myself personally. It's the son and daughter. This is the log line of it. The son and daughter of a mysterious and powerful serial killer, Helstrom follows Damon and Anna Helstrom and their complicated dynamic as they track down the worst of humanity, each with their own attitude and skills. It is branded as an MCU show, but it is branded as a standalone MCU show. So this is not connecting back up into any of the larger universe there of the MCU, but it does focus on these two children kids, and I won't say kids. What do I say this? There's two children of a serial killer. They're obviously grown adults, as you can see from the picture there. Actors Tom Austin and Sydney Lemon play this brother and sister. Elizabeth Marvel who some of you may recognize from True Grit and other projects. She plays their mom, and it seems from the trailer that she's taken over by this evil entity. There is a demon that supposedly can wipe out all of humanity. The show also stars Robert Wisdom, Ariana Guerra, June Carroll, and Elaine Uy. I hope I'm saying that right. And it premieres on Friday, October 16th. Paul Zavisky created the show and executive produces along with Kareem Zarik and Jeff Loeb. It feels pretty awesome in that it's exploring some of the satanic stuff, some of the occult stuff, some of the demon stuff. You don't really see too much of the MCU or Marvel or larger Marvel universe deal with that too much. But we are getting more magic with WandaVision and with Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. So this is another area for Marvel to go into. Did you like this trailer? Are you excited about this trailer, Alex?
Okay, so this comes in two parts.
All right.
Just saying, heads up, get ready.
Okay,
so I saw this, I read this, and I'm like, this looks baloney. Okay, I'm like reading this, and I'm like, I don't know anyone involved except for but I don't know anyone involved. Who are these people? Who are these attractive people? I don't know, just another actor. But Elizabeth Marvel, I'm really excited about. Lincoln, True Grit, Homeland. I've seen her in a bazillion and one. She's like that. She's like that one actress that you're like, I've seen her in a million and one things, but I can't place any of them kind of situations. And she's awesome. So excited for her. So I'm reading through this and I'm like, again, magic, it's Marvel, what? Huh? And I see this trailer and I'm like, I am so here for it. Can I have it right now? Okay. It's stunning. It reminds me almost like if actually New Mutants was good.
That's actually not a bad assessment because it does feel like she's in a kind of a psych ward. I totally hear what you're saying.
Where you're not really sure if she is like possessed or if she does have some kind of mutant powers or if she's being controlled by someone else, just another entity, what that is. And there's we don't really know what this is about, and I think it's just kind of really cool. Like you see, and these two siblings. And now I have a brother, and don't get me wrong, we're close, but I like to think that we're not exactly demon children.
I hope not either.
We're not demon sibling children to our parents, But there's like a lot of really cool, very beautiful moments, like where she's taking a call, and she's talking to her brother, and she's like, we got to see her, and suddenly you see like a lot of flowers wilt behind her. And so it seems like a very much a show that's about going to be talking a lot of dark themes. It's going to be talking about grief, anger, frustration, how to deal with certain really difficult topics. So I'd be really excited to see how this is I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out, considering it's more of a Halloween situation.
I mean, but Marvel's had so much they've had to push and move around and everything like that. But they're WandaVision is definitely coming out this year. Now this show is already kind of just dropping out of the, and people don't know too much about this. And I think it looks like a perfect Hulu show. I liked the trailer a lot. I always am a fan of the demonic stuff. That's why I'm a big fan of Hellblazer. The stuff he encounters throughout his series, such a unique series. This feels unique to itself. I like Elizabeth Marvel as an actress. I don't know the two lead actors that well, but I know they've been in stuff over the last few years. Paul Zavisky, who is the director of this thing, and I hope I'm saying his name right, but he has done so many things over the last few years. He was the co-executive producer for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was co-executive producer for Hawaii Five-0 and for the last 2 seasons of Lost. So, and he's written a bunch of those episodes, written some stuff as well for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for Hawaii Five-0, for Lost, and for a show called Daybreak. And he's written all 10 episodes here for Helstrom. So he's very involved in this. So I'm just from the trailer itself, I'm excited to see what it is. I hope it's not cheesy. I hope it's not one of these run-of-the-mill series that kind of present this new and interesting concept and then kind of cop out and take the easy way out. I want things that challenge me, like Legion challenged me on FX. Legion was awesome. And then WandaVision looks like it's going to challenge us by jumping around in time, jumping through multiple dimensions possibly, or multiple timelines. all of that. That's what I want. So Helstrom, I hope it's not just she's evil, we got to stop her, and every week she does something evil and we got to stop her. I hope it's more of an exploration of this family's backstory, and we get an illusion of the fact that the dad had some evil within him and may have contracted or brought this evil upon the family. So, and they seem to have superpowers. So what are those superpowers going to do, Alex? Certainly. So there's a lot here that I enjoy and like about it, and it's certainly a new approach from Marvel into what aside from what they've been doing recently. So I like that.
Yeah, it's just like the more like after reading about it, I was like, whatever. And then I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I kind of went back and looked at some of the, the screenwriters. The screenwriter, can't pronounce his name. I for the life of me, Paul. Zavisky. Yes, he's been involved with a lot of things. He was involved as a producer and writer on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was involved in Lost. I haven't seen that, but I do know a lot of people that really do love it. Marvel's Most Wanted, Hawaii Five-0, Lost, like I said. He was actually a writer for that movie with Pierce Brosnan, the Thief one with After the Sunset with Salma Hayek, which is like a random little one. But, we're getting a lot more movies that kind of focus on, the underbelly of like magic, like what it means to be evil, or like what our true motivations are. And one of my favorite TV shows from last year really had a lot of those themes as well, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yeah. And we're like, they're never going to go that direction. And then I see it and I'm like, they went that direction. They crossed it. And they excelled. And so I would love this to be another show that kind of takes that mantle for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. The trailer certainly promises a lot, and it's just around the corner, October 16th. So it's coming up soon. And maybe I can reach out to Hulu. I don't know. I don't have strong connections with Hulu just yet. But maybe I can, shake the tree with some of my friends and get an early access to these episodes and see if they're any good and do a mini review then for people. We shall see. You know what I saw last night, though? Enola Holmes. That was absolutely delightful. So please watch. If you haven't seen Enola Holmes, if you're into the Sherlock Holmes stuff, if you like Millie Bobby Brown, this is the way to go. She is very much the lead of this film, and they do break the fourth wall. I'll tell you now, she talks directly to the camera throughout the whole movie, and so some of you may like that, some of you may not, but I thoroughly enjoyed the film, thought it was delightful. I know Mark Andreyko expressed pleasure at the film as well. So it's on Netflix. It dropped yesterday. Hopefully I'll be recording a review for it sometime today or tomorrow to drop on the channel as well. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend it to anybody who likes the Sherlock Holmes type of stuff. And Henry Cavill, seeing him all strut around looking all good. You know it is. My girlfriend leaned over to me and she goes, "He is too goddamn good looking to be Sherlock Holmes." And I'm like, okay.
It's just like Brad Pitt in the 90s. He's just too attractive. It's distracting. Like that's why it's just way too. That's why I couldn't have him as James Bond the entire time. Like I'm not focusing on a villain. I'm not focusing on how cool you're being with the technology or you're fighting or anything. Actually, scratch that. You're fighting. I love his fighting. Like fine, buddy, whatever. Don't want your attention anymore either. But he is just like so distractingly attractive in the classical sense. He's like a very classic, beautiful man situation.
He's got the strong cheekbones and chin, the whole nine. I appreciate the little dimple. All right, JJ_Winward. He said, "Good morning. I've been asking around for horror recommendations for October and wanted to get one from each of you. Could be your favorite, a classic, a hidden gem, anything. Much love." All right, Alex, are you into horror? Do you have some horror recommendations?
I started watching horror movies actively watching horror movies for the very first time recently, and this year actually. And so, there's quite a few. I watched this, I think it's a Spanish movie, or was it a Mexican movie? But it's called Veronica. That movie effed me up. Oh my gosh. I was like, I couldn't sleep for days. But if you want an actual scare, that movie, it's a great, if you want to go international, Veronica's a really great choice. Or I would definitely recommend checking out some of the Audition from Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah. I think Audition. Yeah, I think it's Korean Audition, but you might be right. It might be Japanese.
No,
I'm
it's
not
Japanese.
Sure.
It's
okay.
Japanese.
Okay. All right. Fair. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, Takashi Miike. Oh, right. Takashi Miike did that one. Right. Oh, yes. I remember this one. Yes. I love Takashi Miike. I think he did 13 Assassins, which is one of my favorite films over the last few years. He's such a great director. So, yeah, absolutely something. Yeah, he did do a 13 Assassins in 2010. Wow, we're at 2010. That was 10 years ago. Means it qualifies for the Cinephiles. Yes. Yeah, I would say Session 9 is one of those ones. If you haven't seen Session 9, that is an absolutely scary as hell horror film for you all to watch. Kind of a fun horror film is Crawl, which is out now on Amazon Prime, I think. So you can watch it there if you have Amazon Prime. Another really great one, of course, is the classic. You know, if you haven't, for some of you that are younger, if you haven't given a chance to John Carpenter's Halloween, please do so. That stands the test of time. Such a damn good horror film. Splinter is another one that's incredibly interesting as a horror film. Some of the vignettes from VHS are apparently pretty awesome as well. So those are some ones you can jump into. I've been thinking about. Nah, I've got too many shows. Never mind, Alex. I've been thinking about doing a horror show here on the Outlaw Nation channel. That would be a lot of fun too. It's my way of forcing myself to watch more of these horror films and get into. And yes, Japanese horror is incredible. If you haven't gotten into Ringu or you haven't the originals, not the Ring, not the stuff you saw here.
Ringu, like that is haunting. It's symbolic. And it's terrifying. It's okay. So that's like those are really great horror movies that can play honestly any time of the year. But if we want to go a movie in the route of horror movies that are really great for Halloween, like Halloween movies, which I feel like the Hocus Pocus route, I'm gonna recommend Michael Dougherty's Trick or Treat. That movie is so much fun, and it's like not like crazy scary, but it's like a real legit thriller where you're like, oh shoot. Wait, are they going to do that? Are they going to do that? And so it's like, it's really, really solid. If you have not seen that movie, it is absolutely wonderful. Go check it out.
Yep. Good
Michael
suggestion.
Costa's in it. Oh. Anna Paquin.
Yeah, right. Next one says Ju-on. Yeah, absolutely. Ju-on is mind-blowingly scary. Mind-blowingly scary, for sure.
I don't.
Oof, that one.
I don't want to think. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
The Witch? The Witch is another one too. The Witch is really good. If you haven't given The Witch a chance, please. Anya Taylor-Joy is great in The Witch, and that film is fantastic. So those are ones you can definitely recommend or suggest you to get into. Coulter Turax said, "Hi John, this is my SEN money for the day. Oh, don't tell. Oh, don't say anything. As for hating on the Skywalkers, I get it, but the Mandalorian has been staying away so far." So which is worse, New Mutants or the latest Star Wars trilogy? Ooh, wow, that's a tough. It's one movie versus three. That's kind of tough. What would you say there, Alex?
As far as which is worse, or which is better?
Which is worse?
Which is worse is New Mutants.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, like the thing is, okay, there's a lot of things I'm not a fan of, and it's like we are finally getting a conclusion to the Skywalker story, which I am very grateful for. And love it or I hate him. There's the last movie. I don't want to think about the last movie, but it has so many problems. But there's quite a few. There was quite a few moments where I was like, oh, that warms the heart. New Mutants just was.
Yeah,
a hard watch. That movie just had no joy, and that's I had no love or joy when watching it, and it was very, very clear. And so it seemed like no one involved even had fun making it, and it was boring.
Wow.
Like,
all right.
Yeesh.
Andrew G countering. He says, New Mutants was a lot better than Rise of Skywalker.
We're not talking about the Rise of Skywalker. We're talking about the trilogy. Okay, dude.
So you have to throw Force Awakens in there. So,
exactly.
Force Awakens.
And I love me some Disney princess action. Okay.
The Force Awakens is great. And I rewatched The Last Jedi recently, and everything with Luke and Rey is fantastic for me on the island. I like what they did there. Some of the stuff with Hux, some of the stuff with Leia, maybe not my favorite stuff, but there are some great scenes in Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker, I'll probably never watch again unless I'm forced to, or I do it as a watch along with the patrons. But yeah, that's so with New Mutants, it's just like, yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't make a comment one way or the other, but it doesn't feel like I'm going to enjoy New Mutants when I go see it. But Andrew G., you never know. I'm heading to San Diego next week. The theaters are open, so my plan next Sunday is to go see Tenet and New Mutants in the theater. So we shall see. We shall see. All right, any more Streamlabs? No. But Rocky67 just subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much. Dawson Script, Jason Moore, Brandon C., and Collectors World Store all subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the Outlaw channel if you haven't yet. But we're gonna do our promotions real quick. Alex, what do you got going on in your world? What do you gonna promote here?
Yes, I'm going to be doing a real big thing tomorrow, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm very proud of. I've organized a free-for-all kind of style event for the Action Army, Action Industries in particular. It's called Last General Standing. So we have over 25 competitors that are going to be competing in this event, and there's going to be categories ranging from rom-com to thriller to 80s to sports movies. So it's going to be a guaranteed fun time. So definitely come over to the Call to Action page and check it out tomorrow. It's starting at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 Eastern. Would really appreciate it. Also, here next Tuesday, every Tuesday I coast a show called Son of Bias with Video Drew. We dive into a movie that challenges us. Drew has never seen Alfred Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief. How?
Wow.
How?
Right.
As a movie critic, how? I've seen it, and I'm not a movie critic. So, but also you didn't see Rosemary's Baby until we forced you to sit down and watch it.
Very true.
So we all have, the random little gaps in our knowledge. So it's all about challenging each other for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. So patronize everything Alex has going on. She's got great content out there, and follow her on all her social media channels. Definitely. Over here on the Outlaw Nation channel, we just dropped a new episode of the Geek Buddies yesterday. It's up now on the channel, almost at 1,000 views already. So thank you so much for the people who watched it. We dropped it yesterday around 4:30 in the afternoon, talking all the stuff that happened that's happening with She-Hulk and Miss Marvel. We broke down that WandaVision trailer amongst the three of us, and also discussed a little more about the Peacemaker series coming from John Cena. We got into all of that. The most recent Top 10 show is also out. We just dropped our new Topic Thunder show, a new episode rather, of the Topic Thunder today on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel and the Outlaw Nation podcast feed. Find that wherever you download stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, just had Winston Marshall on the Outlaw Nation show on Tuesday night. So if you haven't watched that, Winston and I have a great time. 2 hours and 40 minutes. The show just went. Usually I try to keep it at 2 hours, but the fans were coming in with questions and Streamlabs and Super Chats, one on top of each other, really wanting to ask us a bunch of questions and Winston a bunch of questions. And we had people coming in live. That's one thing about the Outlaw Nation show. We bring you in live to ask questions later on in the show. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And Winston was an incredible guest. And tonight, don't forget, 7 p.m. PT, we are live with Impolite Truths. Dorina Arellano and I get into these things about politics. Everything's been going nuts, talking about that Atlantic article about how Trump could possibly steal the election. We're going to dive into Dianne Feinstein stuff, how she's having issues with filibustering, all of that we're going to discuss and more, and then do our tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away this past Friday, and all that she's done for this country, for women in this country, really specifically, kind of recapping all of that for maybe some of our listeners or fans who are not that well entrenched in the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That'll be tonight. Of course, we'll bring you in live as well. If you're a $10 and above patron, or if you donate at the $10 level with the Streamlab, you'll get to come in live to ask your question as well. And then one last thing, the Jedi Way. That's right. Laura Kelly and I recorded a new episode yesterday. I'm dropping it tomorrow morning on the channel. And we are discussing The Mandalorian Season 1, what worked, why it was so good, what it about, what elements of it really worked for the Star Wars fandom at a time when the Star Wars fandom was starting to fracture. And then we're going to get into what we hope to see, or what we think we might see in The Mandalorian Season 2. So that was a fun, very fun discussion with Laura Kelly. The show's becoming a really strong part of the Outlaw Nation lineup, and so I can't encourage you all enough to give it a chance if you're Star Wars fans, because Laura Kelly is just such a knowledgeable person about it, and it's so much fun fun to bounce questions off of her and have have our discussions about everything and have our opinions go back and forth over these subjects. So there you go. That's everything's going on here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Thank you so much for being fans and patrons of the Outlaw Nation channel. Don't forget to subscribe below and hit like on this video and leave a comment as well. All right, Alex, let's get into our last story here. It is the Ray Fisher story. Real quick, he is back on set. Ray Fisher is. He will be coming back to shoot a week on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Of course, this is really big news because of the public dispute he is still having with Warner Media, which is a division of Warner Brothers, where he accused Joss Whedon of engaging in misconduct and abuse while reshooting Justice League. Jason Momoa recently came out in favor of him. Fisher also in favor of Ray Fisher. He said, I quote, the hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. So did Kiersey Clemons, who is coming back for Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. Her footage actually is going to be used in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Fisher also claimed the executives John Berg and Jeff Johns, who both have left the studio since, enabled Whedon's behavior. So this is so fascinating because this has been going on for quite some time, and now he's pushing back at the investigation, calling into question the independent nature of the investigation. THR said that the Justice League reshoots are conducted by Whedon, that they were a messy and hastily assembled affair. That is not the case in this situation with Zack Snyder coming back. He's supposed to come onto the set for about a week to shoot this stuff. Do you think this will go? Do you think this is a wise decision? Do you think this will lead to fireworks? What's your feeling on this overall?
This is we come back to this story. I feel like at least once a week.
Okay.
It's just kind of frustrating because we are presented with new facts and everything. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I don't like how WB is handling things. I don't like I just don't like it. It comes off as very suspicious. Okay. I also I can't help but think of this in combination with everything going on that was going on with Ellen DeGeneres and things like that as well. Yeah. And so it's, Warner Brothers is just definitely in a weird situation right now. And they are low key. They need to back up, Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Fortunately, unfortunately, it's just that's up to you, honestly. But they have a show coming out as some kind of sci-fi drama coming out with Joss Whedon here very soon, and so they got to back him up,
Right. That's coming out on HBO. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
One last thing he tweeted was Ray Fisher. It's actually 14 hours ago. He tweeted, "It would appear that WB Pictures has gone from giving libelous official statements to one media outlet to becoming a, quote, source of purposeful misinformation for another. The people are on to you. The investigation is coming. Casting aspersions on me will not change that." He put A is greater than E. So this is an allusion to the rap. Humberto Gonzalez came out, who, the guy I've respected, Latino guy, really broke a lot of ground here in the world of punditry, in the world of, scoops journalism for Latinos. But he did come out with an article essentially echoing some negative comments about Ray Fisher, and it felt like he was being used as a mouthpiece for Warner Brothers to bash Ray Fisher. It had that weird kind of feel to it where a journalist is being used by a studio to go after somebody, to push the studio's points of views, and that felt a little uncomfortable. So I didn't retweet and go and be upset about it because of the respect I have for what Humberto has done. But that being said, it was difficult to see that happening with a noted journalist like Humberto, and I would hate to think that he's being used in this way by Warner Brothers to go after Ray Fisher, an actor of color, a journalist of color going after an actor of color, influenced by a studio. To me, is such a negative look. It's a terrible look. So I hope that's not the case. But I think that's what Ray is alluding to. So that's an unfortunate situation that's happening. So yeah, we'll see.
Are you saying that journalists can't be bought?
I'm not saying
what are you saying?
Are
you suggesting
I'm saying they don't. I don't want them to be bought. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter what we want. Realistically,
True.
that is not the case.
Yeah.
You know, just like any photojournalist, just like any news source, you know,
Yeah.
can be bought, you know, for the right story. Hey, if you downplay this story, I'll give you a bigger story next week. I'll give you a bigger story regarding this topic or whatever the situation is. You know, so honestly, I'm not surprised that this was tweeted. I do think I don't know. I haven't seen the tweet you're referring to. I do think that people can be bought. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of, you know, that's just the nature of the industry in general, to be honest. And you know, it is very sad to say. I personally think it just really, like I said, it just bugs me overall that, you know, the way they are protecting their creators, they are protecting Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns and things like that. And it is really, we're also getting a lot of mixed signals from both sides, you know, not so much not from Ray Fisher in particular, but from, you know, Jason Momoa, who signed on to do a movie with Jeff Johns directly after. So it's, you know, we talk about how Jeff Johns was an enabler of, you know, some of the higher ups and Joss Whedon, but at the same time, you know, and Jason Momoa is like, no, that is awful. Absolutely. Right. Stand with Ray Fisher. But then he turns around and he's like, actually, I'll do 2 more movies with him. So it's like, what are you doing here, man? Come on. What are you doing? Do you stand with them or you don't? I don't get it. And so it's just like it's just a very weird situation. Now, there also are actors, you know, let's face it, there are actors that will use PR to their advantage. They know that they, just like we've seen, you know, we've seen journalists and photographers and everything really turn on Amber Heard after a lot of people really believed that, you know, after the court cases and everything came out, saying that she completely, you know, made completely libelous and false lies against Johnny Depp in order to purposefully wreck his career. And so, you know, I don't think this is the case with. I hope this is not the case with Ray Fisher, obviously, because I respect him tremendously. You know, but there in Hollywood, there is a history of actors trying to make a name for themselves by going through the wrong routes, through doing things like this, through PR, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's true. So we'll find out. We'll see for sure what's going to happen. So, remember, Jason Momoa said the movie with Jeff Johns was a fake.
Right. Absolutely, you're totally right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
Devontae offers another take here. She says maybe Umberto doesn't believe Ray Fisher after doing some investigating. That's certainly possible. Like I said, I don't want to believe that he's being used by the studio to go after an actor of color who's raising legitimate concerns about how he was treated on set by a director. But you just never know. So you might be right, Devontae. Certainly possible. Umberto has that credibility as a reporter. Alan Smithy, last Streamlab, then we'll get out of here. Morning, Rocha and Alex. Alex, I just want to make sure that you've signed me up for the show tomorrow. Alex, can you tell us about the format? Are we writing answers down or do we have to buzz in? Do we have 15 seconds? How's it going to work? Thanks. So real quick.
Yes, Alan, you are on the list. Absolutely. I'm actually going to let you guys know there's 24, 25 of you guys. And I am going to be letting you guys know the order today, so you guys know when to hop in the room and all that good stuff. We're going to be having like a waiting room to get into the green room kind of situation. So there's going to be 3 of you guys competing at the same time. And you guys are going to need a whiteboard or just something to write with, you know. So that's how it's going to go. And if you're going to be getting
the whiteboard, this is what you need.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, something like that. You can, if you don't have a whiteboard, use a notepad and use a big Sharpie or something. You know, it's like improvise. Keep in mind, it is a free-for-all style event, so there's going to be a lot of paper. Ideally, if you're competing for an extended period of time, so you don't want to have just like a notepad and be like, oh, 2 pieces of paper, totally good.
Right.
That's not going to be enough. Heads up. But it's going to be like 15 seconds per question as well. So, and there's going to be like 1 repeat per round per competitor. So we're not going to have like one random competitor does a JTE every single question. So
Yeah.
Don't be that weenie. Don't be that weenie.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. All right. Well, there you go. That's going to happen tomorrow night on the Call to Action channel. So go and get involved in that. Have some fun with that. Enjoy it. I was thinking of low key becoming a general so I could surprise everybody to participate in this, but in the end I decided against it. But that would have been fun to go toe to toe with some
that
of
would have been
best fans. So, but this is their show and I don't want to overshadow that, but I thought about it as a fun little one-off that would have been great. But you know, this is you all having fun, so I didn't want to jump into that. But all right, then get involved in that. And Alex, where can they find you? We got to wrap up here because I got to jump on SEN Live in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I got to get some breakfast. Where can they find you again? With all stuff
you can find me here on Twitter, real_Alex Mike. You can also, again, find me with the Call to Action crew. Just find us on YouTube. You can also find us anywhere podcasts are found, such as Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever. So it would definitely be much appreciated if you subscribed and checked out our channel overall. Also check out my show Cinema Bias on YouTube, where we dive into movies that challenge us as movie viewers. And I also host a show called I created a show called Schmobates. It is a Schmodown themed debate show where we argue and debate to the death of all things Schmodown, asking Schmodown's important questions. So if that's something you're interested in, us fighting or having some Schmodown hot takes, definitely check that out on YouTube.
There you go. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Please subscribe to the channel down below. Thank you, Devontae Smith, for subscribing. Really appreciate you being a part of the show today. So thank you so much. And thank you, everybody who sent in the Streamlabs and Super Chats. Really appreciate it. You know, we live and die on those Streamlabs and Super Chats here on the channel. The shows have to be supported in that way. So please, thank you so much for people who came through today. And don't forget, I'm on SCN Live at 10 a.m. this morning in about 14 minutes. If I can shove down some breakfast in time, come and join us and have fun. Christian Harloff will be hosting for the first 45 minutes and then handing over the reins to me. He's got some big announcements he wants to make concerning the Shimoda Entertainment Network. So he wants to come on the show to do them. So come and join us there. And don't forget tonight, 7 p.m. PT, Impolite Truths, me and Dorina Arellano live talking about all the madness that's going on as we head towards the election. We're like 44 days or something like that away from the election. So a lot of madness going on. So come and join us and have some fun and maybe vent it out and get it all out of you with two people who want to hear from you and have a good conversation with you. All right. Take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of your Thursday. And we will see you next week with another live episode of Mornings with the Outlaw on Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. What do we got to tell them, Alex?
Guys, keep watching movies and be safe and wear a mask.